Welcome everybody to What's Up Fandom. My name is Josh, and today I am joined by two very special guests. I have Jemma Young.
Hi.
And Chad Hardin.
Hey.
And I forgot to ask, to make sure that I'm getting saying everybody's name correctly before we started.
Oh, you did great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, hopefully it's Jemma, and it's Jemma, and I'm like, oh, well, I'm already messed up.
No, it's Jemma.
Yeah.
And you guys are the creators of Temerity, the webcomic. Did I get it right?
Temerity.
Dang it! I thought it was Temerity. Or is it Temerity? Or is it telemetry?
Temerity.
It's Temerity? It is Temerity.
Yes,
I was making a joke earlier that it should be Temerity.
I thought you were teasing us about it being, yeah.
No, I thought it was Temerity.
No, it didn't. No, it's
I
was like,
got
what are
me.
the chances this conversation before the podcast is going to screw everything up? I was like, this is going to happen.
Oh, should we tell them now what the mini comic's about? Oh man,
my goodness! I thought we were good. I was like,
we should have, yeah.
No,
we shouldn't have talked about our names. We should have talked about the comic's name.
But yeah, so you guys have the hardest named comic on Webtoon right now. So congratulations, Webtoon Canvas. Congrats, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
And Jemma, you're the writer for the T.
Temerity.
I'm just gonna call it T from now on because apparently I can't do anything for Temerity. So you're the writer for Temerity.
Yes.
And Chad, you were the artist or
I draw
illustrator,
stuff.
or are you the inker? What is it?
I'm the cartoonist.
What do they call them in?
So Chad does the pencils and the inks.
Yeah, but I mean,
inks.
Yes.
I don't take cartooning as an insult, but
Okay.
cartoons are cartoons just mean like line drawing. That's all it means.
Yeah.
So I do the line work, and then Enrica does the colors.
So first off, let's talk about telemetry, and sorry, this is gonna happen. I'm just gonna call it something different the entire time. So with tacos, what brought about the idea for the comic?
So I've been writing Temerity for actually quite a long time. The idea came in high school, which was, 15 years ago. Which
was 2 days ago for Jemma.
I know it looks like 2 days ago, but 15 years ago, yeah, we started, me and some friends were working on this dumb sci-fi story, and just over time it's developed and just been living in the back of my brain and just slowly developing it over time. And then a few years ago, Chad was talking, we would go to conventions together and I'd manage his booth because it was during when he was working on Harley,
yeah.
And just the craziest conventions.
We had lines and people, and I'd be up all weekend, literally awake for 42 hours just drawing commissions and things like that. And
we drive home from these conventions, and Chad and I talked a lot about doing create our own thing.
Yeah.
I do the colorist or whatever, and something that we could actually own, because when you work for these big comic industries, you don't own anything you work on.
Yeah.
Nope.
So it's we want to do something that we own, that we have control over, and don't have crazy 2-week deadlines to complete an entire issue.
yeah, that's the other thing. Yeah, so at these conventions, I'd be drawing it, Jemma would be inking it, and then we'd get done with the page, and then we'd turn around and do commissions at the convention. So I think we realized pretty early on that what we were doing was not sustainable.
Yeah.
With Harley, and I have people to this day, they ask me hey, are you gonna go back to DC? And I love DC. They have done amazing things for my career, but I don't think what people understand is how much of a absolute grind it is to just hit a monthly deadline on a top tier DC book. Yeah. Because there's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of pressure. So I think what happened is we're we were at these shows and we just realized that we were not on a sustainable trajectory with the amount of work we were doing. I mean, and so
and then
anyway.
not owning any of it,
Right?
You know.
Excuse me, I'm going to cough for one second. I'm sorry, guys. I don't know why. I don't have COVID. Trust me.
I don't know.
Anyway.
You broke your dad out last week. I mean,
My grandpa,
your
my
grandpa,
95-year-old
so I mean,
grandpa. Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Well, they told me that he could not transmit, that he had it twice and that he was no longer contagious.
He had it twice. Geez, I've only had it once.
He had it twice. He's 95 years old, has 2/3 of one lung left. He's a lung cancer survivor. Had COVID twice, and we got to bring him home last week. So
yeah,
that's good.
Yeah, they don't make them like that no more. They're not making any more grandpas, men of steel. Yeah, sure, just take my lung out. I don't need that, still ticking. Like I get a cut, I'm like, can I go to the ER? Give me my oxy, but no, grandpa's like, meh, put some dirt on it.
Anyway.
Yeah, sorry. I'm sorry.
Hey, that's what this podcast is all about. Like when we rebranded from Animation Station to What's Up Fandom, we were contemplating just calling the entire podcast Tangents. That's basically what we do is we just tangent the entire time. So yeah, don't worry about it. Tangents totally work.
Yeah. So anyways, Chad wanted to work on a sci-fi comic and he had some ideas and I
had like spaceships designed and I had alien races designed, and Jim was like, cool, tell me the story. I'm like, there's no story, Jim. It's just like, like I'm an artist. I just draw stuff and there's no story. And she's like, I have an answer for this.
Yeah. So I pulled up Temerity and started working on it again. And I basically pitched it to Chad and he liked it enough to said, okay, let's do it.
Yeah. Yep. No, I was like, okay, I'm in. Let's do this.
See, well, that's kind of the way that it has to work. It's like you need, it's like you had the issue of like, I can draw all the ships and everything, but I have no story to do it. And you've got the story and it's like, and I need the ships. So it's like, it's perfect.
Yeah.
Like it's funny because I write this script. I'm like, I don't want to draw any ships. So I wrote this script avoiding ships.
Yeah.
And
I have to go to Jim and like, Jemma, they probably should see the ship.
And I'm like, I guess so. We had one establishing shot. Isn't that enough?
It's like it's like in like DS9 or like Babylon 5 or it's like everything takes place here. There are some outside shots of ships. They don't really matter too much. We don't care about those. Everything is inside and like we just live here.
Yeah, so like we're finishing up issue 2 and Chad's like, there's no real spaceship shots. I'm like, oh, you want that?
Yeah.
I'm like, I just instinctively try to avoid it because I'm not good at drawing ships and robots. And Chad's like, but that's what I want to do. And I'm like, okay, I'll rewrite the script. Let's add some more stuff blowing up.
Volume 3 is just going to be like robot ships. Just like, it's going to be like the Cylons. It's all it is. It's the entire season. It's just that.
Yeah, I'm down. But it's nice to have a story that goes along with it. I'm sure it'll come. But drawing ships takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
A lot of time. Like I'm starting to understand why comic book companies avoid science fiction titles. Because I'm tired of drawing like the little tiny details in the nacelles and like the little cracks in the armor. I'm like, okay, I get it. But I've actually done a workaround where I've modeled the ship out and I'm thinking about just taking it into ZBrush and modeling it even more. And then just ZBrush has these new renders where it looks like it's hand drawn. So I did video games before I did comics. So I think I might actually go that route. I have just as much fun modeling things as I do drawing things. So maybe that's the route I'll go.
So when you're modeling these ships, like how and creating all of these, like what's kind of like your inspiration? Is there a certain like sci-fi property that you like pull stuff from? Do you just like be like, I wonder what what looks good? Like where do you kind of gravitate and pull that from?
Well, I actually have a lot of family members who are in the military, and so I always grew up with models of like the Mustang, and all the airplanes from like World War II, and then the Tomcat. I mean, I remember my uncle taking us to see Top Gun when I was like 5 years old, and then we went to the model store and we bought like the F-14s. And so like I am a huge like military aircraft nerd, and so for the Temerity, I basically made it like a modified SR-71 Blackbird.
Okay.
And yeah, okay, I can see. So anyway, that's yeah. Everyone's eyes glaze over, but I like to base everything on something in reality, and just sort of turn it into like a sci-fi something. So
yeah, so the Temerity is basically what did you call it again?
It's basically a stealth attack sub in outer space.
Yeah, so a lot of the ships in Temerity are based on actual airplanes
and naval ships. Yeah,
naval ships, so submarines and things like that.
Yeah.
Nice.
So all the little tiny, if you look at the Temerity and you see the little hexagons, those are like missile bays, just like on subs and whatnot. So designed to launch missiles onto a planet.
Plus a habitat ring and an Abercrombie drive, and, the space thing.
Yeah, like there's like I think on the what was it? Like the day is it the Yamato?
Yeah, the Yamamoto station.
Yeah, it's got the little ring around it, the little habitat ring, which I thought was like, yeah, all good sci-fi ships need that, like anti-grav, ring that kind of like, that's
centrifugal
where,
gravity.
that's where everything. That's where we get everything. So that's
yeah.
I like that was included. It was like, yeah. And then you blow that up and it's like,
yeah. And I actually kicked myself on that issue that I drew the habitat ring wrong, and it didn't occur to me until after the page was done, and Jemma would not let me redraw it. She's like, "No, it's done."
That's the biggest problem we have with the comic. Is Chad is like, it must be perfection.
Yeah, I will turn in a page and I'll be like, "Jemma, I found something." She goes, "No, Chad, it's finished. It's colored. It's on Webtoons. You can't change it."
We've already posted it. It's like it's already there. It's been live for 6 months.
Yeah.
Like, we can't change it.
Yeah, I know. I gotta let it go. But I can see now why George Lucas did the whole special edition thing. I really can, where it's like, I
can make this.
I can go back and fix everything.
It's like, no.
Are you going back and fixing it for the for like the hard copy release?
Only if Jemma lets me. So that's probably good. No.
Yeah.
It's worth a shot. I tried, man.
Printed.
I tried.
The first issue is already printed.
Right.
The second issue, we're really close. I don't think there's any changes that need to be made. If by some chance we make millions of dollars and we have money, and
I still don't think you're gonna let me change it. Even if that happens, I don't think you're gonna let me change it.
I'll get the intern.
You're just gonna be like, Chad, dude, go back to work at the pages, Chad. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, let's talk about the characters. Because now it's gonna be fun for Josh to butcher names. I want to say Naya, but there's
Naya.
Good job.
Naya. Okay,
Yeah.
that extra A was like, what is this? What is this A here for? What is? It's like sitting here like some silent A. And she is a
Ned Ruin.
Okay. Have we said that before?
I don't know.
I butchered it the other day on a podcast, and Jemma immediately calls me. And I'm like, and you can see in the podcast when they try to get me to say it, like my eyes go wide, like I've never spoken it aloud. I know I'm saying it wrong. And sure enough, I said it wrong.
Yeah, Naya is a Ned Ruin, which is a purple alien that exists in our world.
And there's two types.
Yeah, there's two types. One has antennae, which is what Naya is, and others have horns. So depends on which planet they come from the Ninruin system.
And then there's
Teru.
Teru? Yeah, okay. I was just like, Teru seen he, my days of anime and manga helped me with that one. And he's a Dagon. Or do you go Daigen?
I go Daigen.
Daigen.
Yeah,
Okay.
You had a 50-50 chance, sir.
It's like the manga. It's like
Wake and walk 'em.
whichever one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I honestly don't care if people butcher my made up names because they're made up.
Oh, really?
I
Oh,
won't get
this will be
offended.
fun then. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Daigans?
So the Daigen project is a project of Yamamoto Industries where they took Terran kids, and did genetic modifications to turn them into super soldiers that are essentially just they're kind of like slaves, I guess. And so Teru is one of them. He was recruited when he was 4 years old and got his genetics all amped up and stuff. So he's 18 during the comic when he decides to make a break for it and seek out a friend who is also a Daigen who disappeared mysteriously a year or two previously.
Sky, right?
Yep.
Yeah. See,
You didn't mess that one up.
Yeah,
that
good
one
job.
wasn't hard. That one wasn't like SK umlaut U.
It's actually pronounced ski. No.
And then we have the captain of the ship, Edith.
Yep.
Yes.
Only because that one guy keeps calling her Edith, and I don't know his name.
That is Benta.
Yeah.
Have we met?
No,
okay.
we will get to know the Temerity crew quite well in the next upcoming issues.
Okay.
Yeah, Edith was sort of a surprise hit.
Yeah.
She was like way more popular than we thought she'd be.
Well, yeah,
She's
you
cool.
drew her like a boss, like when she's like, I am the captain, and you're like, aye, she's the captain, y'all.
Yeah.
You don't mess with her.
Yeah.
And she's like 7 feet tall.
Yeah,
Like
yeah, we
she's-
made her like well, I have a daughter that's really tall, and I just thought that would be cool to have like a really strong, tall, you know.
Yeah, she wears the heels to just
Yeah, and just not afraid. Like, you know, maybe she's only actually 6'6", but she just says, I'm gonna put 4 inches on my heels and be that much taller.
To be
So
fair, I just thought everybody else was small.
I
I just thought everybody else was like really.
It's
small.
that too. Yeah.
Yeah, well, Teru is Japanese, so he's only like 5'5", so I guess that's relatively short.
Yeah.
So
Then Mark, who I'm guessing is our resident human.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because you need that. I'm hoping like geeky nerdy pilot. Everybody needs the geeky nerdy pilot.
Oh yes, he is quite the gem. I'm trying to get words to come out of my mouth the way I want them to. Yeah, I was actually pretty sad. He was strapped into his seat because he's the pilot, because he will always have the most dumbest pun shirts when he's not strapped. Like, he wears funny t-shirts, and we're excited for those.
Awesome.
I just hope Jim doesn't kill him.
Well, hey, he's gonna be like a leaf on the wind. It always works well for everybody.
I'm so nervous for everybody. I don't know if you've read her other comic, but Jim every now and then becomes a very cruel goddess and just, I'm gonna kill all of my creations. And you're like, no.
As long as they don't crash into a cave. If they ever crash into a cave somewhere being chased by marauders, then it's like, I feel good for Mark. Then there's Jensen, who is Nav, or is Jensen an AI? It was just like a weird like.
Yeah, right now he's over artillery.
Okay.
And weapon systems, and yeah, so we'll have more time in the future to kind of get to know each of the characters, the crew members, because I feel like they all have like crazy personalities that are a lot of fun.
Well, and Jemma knows, like, she knows them, like they're real people. She knows them, and so like I'll draw them. She's like, no, that's not how they look. I'm like, okay. Are you sure? Because I'm pretty sure we're sort of making this up as we go. She's like, no, I know them.
I'm gonna refer to Jim on this one. Who's the blue one? The blue with the.
That is Yia.
Yia, okay.
And she is a race called Kuna, and they have the ability to integrate with technology.
Sweet. So she can be like, boop with the ship and just be. That's cool.
Yeah. So she's actually hooked up to the ship. She does a lot of the ship stuff.
She basically is the ship.
Yeah.
She's the ship.
But she's like 99% organic. Like she's not a cyborg.
Yeah,
or an
she's
android.
not. Yeah, she's not Mr. Data. She's not Borg.
Yeah,
but she's a
organic
battery. They
platform.
kind of plug her in and let her do her thing.
Yeah.
I guess so. Yeah.
Then there's Common.
Yep. Common is the resident medic.
Yeah. And then the last one is Jeff, right? He's the sniper.
Jeff?
Sniper. Yeah. Wasn't it Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, the sniper. Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only thing I remember. Is like the only time that we see Jeff is she's just like, Jeff, are you in position? And it's like, yeah. And you're like, all right, well, he's our shooty person, so that's good.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
I wanted to do more with that, but I wanted like Taylor to give him the eyeball like he saw him. Like, I see you there.
I mean,
But he was too busy throwing up.
It's not like they can. I mean, you can always, go back once you make $1 million and do like a right before like
extended edition.
As the chunder is coming out. There's like a little like side glance, and he's like, I see you. Blech.
I barf in your general direction.
Exactly.
We are weightless. It will hit you eventually.
So man, so sci-fi. So like Chad's been making ships. Jim has been writing since high school. Like what were you guys into growing up? Like was it always sci-fi? Like did sci-fi just come later? Like or were you into the other things? I am noticing the manga back there, all the fun stuff. So like what were you guys into, like growing up?
You go first.
The first movie I ever saw was Star Wars. And I was this close to convincing my mom to naming my little brother Darth. And then she went and saw the movie and said no. And I was devastated. But I was this close. I almost had... How cool would that be, though? Like, especially like if you're in business. What's his name? Darth Hardin. Like, how cool would that have been? Like, he would have been the most successful person ever because everyone's like, I'm not saying no to this guy. But they named him Mikey. Anyway, I mean, obviously, cool. I mean, I was one of these kids that Star Wars was everything. It was everything. I watched Star Wars once a week my entire life until the prequels. And then I was like, okay, I don't need this anymore.
Oh, that's hurtful. That's hurtful.
And now that the Mando's back, I'm watching it again. So it all comes full circle. Thank you, Jon Favreau.
What about you, Jemma?
So I was intensely into Pokemon growing up. Like that's when I started drawing comics and drawing and writing stories as my dumb Pokemon character being cool and Mary Sue, because we all start off as Mary Sue's. And then
you all are also 10 and like
yes it
and
was
like shoved out into the cold. Your parents are like, all right, go. There's this guy who doesn't know your name, doesn't know your gender. He's like, what are you? All right, here's the thing, go out there. And there's like these giant Pokemon things that are gonna like, they can kill a child. You're just 10. Like the fact that there are the road to Viridian City is not like littered with child corpses is like a miracle.
I never thought about any of this, and all of a sudden, yeah,
it's like
yeah,
there are rats that attack children there. Like we don't know. There could be poke fleas on those rats. Like these kids could get like the plague. We don't know. They're constantly attacked by like electric rats and all kinds of things like come at them. It's like
I've never thought of this, and all of a sudden, like my faith in humanities, I feel like my belief system's doing this.
Right?
Yeah,
it's
like
fine.
It's Pokemon.
Giant,
just gotta believe in friendship.
Giant hornets with huge like
Stingers.
drills on them that could be like it literally could like impale a child. Just be like, go.
Friendship.
Want to get in my ball?
Friendship power rules all, conquers all. Anyways, so I was into Pokemon, and then that led me into just like the manga rabbit hole and the anime. So like Inuyasha, Cardcaptor Sakura,
You're speaking my language.
Magic Knight Rares.
Nope, not you lost my language.
Okay. Anyway, so all the manga, I definitely love fantasy adventures. Like I loved. Is that my kid or someone else's?
That was like a phantom voice. I'm sort of tripping out a little bit. Like, where did that come from? He's not in this room. Is he talking into the vent?
Look at the ceiling. Make sure we don't have like a train spotting situation.
He's saying mommy.
Oh my gosh.
Do you want to go take care of him?
I'll go take care of him. I'll be right back.
Sorry. It is sort of disturbing though. It sounds like he's trapped in the wall. So I think Jemma needs to go and investigate. But no, he's just going, mommy, mom, mommy. Anyway, where were we? What were we talking about?
Wait, are we sure it's not like that episode of Doctor Who with the gas mask kid? Because I mean, like
okay, so Doctor Who is the one science fiction property that I said no to in 1978. I walked away from Doctor Who. And people are like, you need to come back. I'm like, you have not watched the Doctor Who that I've watched. Okay. There are 50 years worth of Doctor Who.
Yeah.
And I have seen 20 years of horrible, absolutely horrible Doctor Who. And I'm not coming back.
Wait, did you not watch the movie?
No.
Oh,
no, I haven't watched the movie. I watched.
It's so bad.
Oh man. It was bad when I was a kid. I mean, we watched it, but we watched it because it was the only science fiction show on television. Like Star Trek, most of the time Star Trek was in syndication, but there were sometimes Star Trek was not in syndication and Doctor Who is it. And it was only on because it was on PBS.
Yeah.
So I forced watched. I feel like Doctor Who was forced upon me as a nerd. As, you know, I had no other options. Well, so I watched it, but
I mean, yeah, like with Star Trek, like you had 3 seasons and that was it until like 89.
Yeah, but
when you got
the seasons back then, I think wasn't there like 30 episodes a season? So there's like 90 episodes.
Yeah, like you had to hit like some magic mark of like 85 episodes to hit syndication back in the day. So it's like once you hit that, then they were like, and done. We don't have to do anything else.
Yeah. And no, like I remember when they announced Star Trek: The Next Generation, it was like I remember like how happy everyone was. Like it was like the second coming of Jesus for a lot of nerds. It was like, oh, you know, finally something that was new. It was
my parents are so into that.
Yeah, no, Next Generation was the thing. And now we're spoiled. Now there's almost too much. There is too much stuff to watch. But I grew up in the great nerd famine of 70, you know, the 70s.
Where you had to like BitTorrent your animes or go, you know, buy those mysterious VHSs.
I was about to say when we bought bootleg VHSs from the Star Trek conventions. Yeah.
Yep. I know those all too well. Like that's where I bought. I think I bought like an entire like VHS set of like Neon Genesis Evangelion at a Star Trek convention on these like ridiculous like white VHS tapes, and I'm like, where do you get white VHS tapes? But they were like, oh, they had them here, and I was like, all right,
and
it has to be legit. They're white VHS tapes. Who else would do that?
And they're like, you know, you shouldn't pirate. And like, give me a place to spend my money.
Yeah.
You know, I'll buy it if you would make it available to me.
Well, it's funny you say that because I was at the Star Trek convention in Las Vegas when the FBI for the first time enforced the piracy laws because what was the store? Suncoast. So Suncoast in the mall went to the Star Trek convention and they had all their Star Trek DVDs and all their Star Trek VHS tapes, and they're in this giant dealer's room where there's just all these people just selling pirated copies, and they called the FBI. The FBI came in and shut down the entire Star Trek convention. And that's when I got Airman Shimmerman to sign my Quark, and Whoopi Goldberg to sign my Guinan. So anyway, it stood out. That convention's
Oh man, that's one of the things that I miss. Like I've worked, comic conventions. Like I've worked at like Dallas Comic Con a couple times and stuff like that. I've done press for a bunch of stuff, but like I've never, like, we used to have, like, growing up, like in Oklahoma, there's nothing. We didn't have an anime convention until like 2005. But we had Star Trek conventions forever. We would always go to a Star Trek convention.
Yes.
Like it was the Trek Expo, but they would, like, there was Star Wars people there. They would bring anime.
Right.
It was like an everything type.
Right.
Of
it was the nerd crowd for sure.
Yeah. And it was great. And that's the one thing that I regret not ever like volunteering for or working for. Because I'm like, man, that would be so much fun. Because I mean, like, I've done the anime stuff before. I've done the comic stuff, and it's like I've never done the sci-fi stuff. So it would be phenomenal to do that. But then they canceled Trek Expo. So it's like, what's the point? So
I imagine Oklahoma would be rough. My whole family's from like Texas, Oklahoma area, and I never talk sci-fi around my family. It would have ended in disaster. I come from, both of my brothers lettered in 4 sports, and like I said, military. Just there's just certain things you didn't say when I was a kid, and I never talked about that stuff because I'm afraid they just beat the crap out of me.
The ostracized brother that can't catch a ball.
Right, yeah.
What a shame.
Yeah, no, literally, yeah. Yep, never had the eyesight. Yeah. I was such a disappointment.
Chad, they knew you were watching Star Trek. They knew, man. So,
oh no, they knew.
They knew.
I just did not bring it up around the extended family. I knew better. I knew way better.
What about you, Jimmer? Were you a little bit more freer with what you're able to get away with?
What do you mean?
I don't know. That was
it more acceptable to be like
was it more acceptable?
Well, I definitely dealt with the teachers being like, anime's not art.
Well,
that still happens. That still happens.
They don't matter.
And like, you know what? I kind of relished in the fact that I was an outcast, and we had our group of outcasts, and we'd all just hang out on the weekends and watch our animes, and we didn't need anyone else, so whatever's.
And it's such sweet revenge to do it for a living.
I know.
It's such sweet revenge.
Gemma, you should be a scientist.
Yeah.
You should go into computers. You'll never make money doing art. I'm like, well, watch me.
Yeah.
Oh man. So with almost said it again. I almost messed it up again. With Temerity, you guys have launched the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo, which ends February 12th, correct? Next Friday.
It ends on the 11th for Kickstarter and the 12th for Indiegogo.
So you've got the indie on the 11th and 12th. Started on the 19th, correct?
Yes.
19th and 20th. Then, you've already hit your goal. So congrats! Like, you hit your goal. Like how'd you guys? How did that first day go for you guys? Those first 2 days.
Really
how did those
good.
Go?
It was a very good feeling. We did a lot better. This one.
we did a live stream where we hit the launch button while we were live, and we launched the Kickstarter first because that is where our bulk of our audience is, and we wanted to make sure we get the base funding to make the book printed. And so our goal was 4,000, and we funded in 15 minutes. So that was awesome.
That was awesome.
And like, we were just like, we're going to launch the Indiegogo once the Kickstarter funds. And we're like, which we were planning on the next day. And we're like, well, we funded. Let's just go ahead and launch the Indiegogo. And we hit launch. And when we refreshed it, it had funded on the Indiegogo.
So just went and bought one of the tiers, and and we're there. So that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Because all you do is stress. You're just a ball of stress until it funds. And even when it funds, you're still stressed, but you're not as stressed.
Yeah, because like the 4,000 is just to get the book printed. and it's the bare minimum, and
Yeah.
that doesn't pay for any of the artists, any of the work that we've put in.
It's also not even paying for your Indiegogo and Kickstarter fees either.
Right.
So
No,
Yeah.
really, yeah.
So like our ultimate goal is more about 30,000. We may or may not make that amount on this Kickstarter, but
I think
we
we're gonna
will
get
really
close.
close.
Yeah.
The idea of the 30,000 is everyone gets paid like this is actually a full-time thing, which means we can actually turn it into a full-time thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now we're just trying to shove it in like every spare moment we have. But like Jim is a mom with 2 small children. Like I'm a professor and I have 4 grown children, which you would think that it gets easier when they get older, but actually they demand more money for way more expensive toys. So, no, I have good kids. I shouldn't.
Dad, I want to go to college.
I know. I want to go to college. Dad, I need a safe car. Huh?
My car has 400,000 miles
Yeah.
on it, Dad.
Anyway, but so we're trying to do this in literally, well, we're cutting out sleep is what we're doing. We're cutting out sleep, and but anyway, it's getting made. But once we get to that point where, like, if we got 30,000 with the crowdfunding, and I like I said, I think we're going to be really close. At that point, I'm actually making what I would make on like a Marvel or a DC book, and so then it becomes a viable
Income.
a viable income.
It's a thing that pays the bills instead of trying to find something else to pay the bills
Right.
while you work on the thing that you enjoy.
So we would love to hit that number just so we can know like we can do this, and it's one even when you work for DC or Marvel, you're grateful to have that job, but you don't know if they're going to call you back next month for another book. And if you have the freedom where it's like, okay, so long as I create this book and I know that, and I keep my fans happy, like as long as I don't do anything stupid to lose my fans, that they're going to support you. It's an awesome feeling because, with DC, I mean, I'm not kidding you. I did not have a day off my entire time on Harley.
It was like
Not a
80-hour
single.
weeks.
It was 80 to 100-hour weeks. It was nuts. Just because the demand. I mean, it was like, I don't know if you remember the UHF movie where Weird Al shoots Kramer in the face with the fire hose. He's like, take a drink from the fire hose. That's what it was like being on Harley. I went from like nobody knowing who I was to people trying to like showing up at my house unannounced. It was nuts. And so once again, I love the experience. I'm thankful for the fans I got, but at the same time, it was not sustainable. Like there's so much pressure to just like keep, because we were a top tier DC book, and there's so much pressure to keep it a top tier DC book. And for me, that was sort of a shock. I'm way more comfortable being an invisible nerd than I am being, trying to be, I don't know, visible.
In the spotlight.
Right. Yes. There you go. In the spot. Yeah.
Under scrutiny.
Under scrutiny. Yeah. Where you have to be really careful about what you say because people are listening, and it gets on Bleeding Cool, or like you have to start thinking about stuff, and then promoting yourself too. And I think that's one of the hardest things for me with Temerity is I really do have to be proactive and show absolutely everything, and do live streams and podcasts when my instinct is just to, as an introvert, is to stay away from humanity unless I need humanity. It's a weird thing. It's like, okay, I need to see a friend today because I haven't seen a friend in a week. That's where I'm comfortable. I'm like comfortable like 5 days out of the week seeing absolutely nobody, and then maybe 2 days out of the week seeing people, just making sure that they're there and they're still alive, and then going back into my hobbit hole for like 5 days.
That's the weekend for me. It's like I try not to leave my apartment at all during the week, and then on the weekends it's like, oh yeah, you should come over.
Well,
or it's like, now we can do things.
My brother, I saw my brother for the first time since COVID. And he was like, so how's COVID been? And I'm like, not much has changed. You know, I mean, really, I mean, honestly, not much has changed. I do sort of the same thing I've always done. I stay in my basement and I draw all the time. So
same. Like
yeah.
when I was in California, I was doing voiceover and podcasting, and then COVID hit, and I was doing the exact same thing, the exact same way. and then I got a job and moved back to Oklahoma, and now it's like, all right, so now I just Skype into work, or I Zoom into work, and it's like I still don't leave. It's just I do the exact same thing. So it's like, yeah, I've been doing, COVID for 2 years now. So
Yeah.
just because it's like, yeah, well, it's just the way it's been working.
Yeah. Yeah.
Have you guys thought about, and I don't know if you guys need it, like more of like a not really like a catalog, but more like chapters under your, like, have you guys thought about maybe like taking it to like Dark Horse or something like that to get published? Or like I would assume you would need more like issues under your belt before you did that.
Publishing traditionally is very rough to get into.
Yeah.
And actually, once you step foot into the indie sphere, most traditional publishers basically just say no.
Yeah. I have been to like Marvel and DC marketing meetings where they have specifically told us, do not bother pitching anything science fiction or fantasy. They're just like, if it is not a superhero book, if it doesn't have something to do with one of our characters,
don't bother.
Don't bother.
So,
we don't care.
Yeah, and then some of the smaller like Boom and Dark Horse and stuff, they get a lot of solicitations as well.
Yeah.
And for them, it's just strategically, they just don't want to touch something that's already touched the indie market.
Well, and honestly, and once again, I'm not trying to throw shade on anybody, but this comic, I mean, Jim is writing this comic for the demographic that is younger than the fanboy. I'm the fanboy demographic, okay? I'm the Chris Claremont era comic nerd, okay? And I guess some people consider that a negative connotation, but I don't. It's just what we are.
It's just a different generation.
And a lot of the publishers are being run by like the fanboy generation. And so it's not necessarily like their cup of tea. You know, Temerity is definitely written for it's written for my kids. It's written for, that age group, and they're embracing it on Webtoons, and it's really awesome to see. But sometimes you go to a publisher and they're just like, yeah, I don't get it.
Well, and a lot of the times it's like it's not what they do, and to break out and to do something new is risky,
right?
And it's just they can't really justify that when it's untested.
Yeah.
So like we understand why no one wanted to pick it up, and we also know why we want to go the route we want to go, and just go with Webtoons and putting it online, because the market is changing so drastically and so quickly that maybe, for this particular project, going the traditional route would probably, I think, hold it down a little bit.
Well, and it would be insanely expensive. Like I have friends that self-publish, and they go backwards. Like by the time they're doing issue 6, they are in debt. Do you know what I mean? And you're like going, why don't you just sort of try out Webtoons, because it doesn't cost anything and a lot of kids are going to read it anyway. And
then
at
if
least
you get picked up by Webtoon, then they pay you to do it.
Right.
So.
Yeah. And then, I mean, and this is one of the problems with traditional comics. There's no place to like safely build an audience. Yeah. Like you literally have like 1 or 2 issues to
make it or break
it. And like even Walking Dead, I think it took him to like issue 5 before, it was like issue 1 did really well and then it dipped. And then I think by issue 5 or issue 6, they actually sold more than issue 1. And that's when they knew they had a hit. But there's so many comic creators that they don't get that instant traction, and so they don't really have a choice. They don't have, and I see it all the time, and I have friends who are writing amazing books, and they just haven't found that niche audience that they need to find, they need to connect with. And and by the time they hit issue 6, they're like, man, I got to stop doing this or it's going to break me. So we're thankful that we're able to go the Webtoons route, because we've been able to sort of build that support organically. And then now that we're crowdfunding it, we're getting the response from the fans, and it's really nice to see. It's awesome. It's awesome to do an update and see the instant fan
feedback.
reaction. Yeah. And
like
how excited they're getting. Yeah.
Well, and it's really cool to post one page and be like, oh, this didn't quite nail it right. This didn't quite hit the way I wanted it to. And I can actually go back and rewrite the dialogue slightly to fix that problem before we go to print.
Before we go to print. Yeah. Yeah. And I've thought about that too. Like we have like the one Temerity webtoon, and then we have like the remastered edition Temerity, because and that's another thing with and webtoons, they definitely have their own audience, and that audience has expectations.
The audience, sorry, real quick, the audience expectation for webtoons from all of the creators, the webtoon creators and everything that we've had on the podcast, if there's no romance, then
why?
Yeah.
Like, why even bother? Why make a comic?
Not only that, but they'll have, it's just like one insanely long JPEG that
it's all vertical.
It's all vertical, and it just goes down. And I'm used to producing comics by the page, and anyway, so they expect, we'll do an update, and it's just a page out of the comic. And the webtoons audience is used to like every update having basically an entire book worth of scrolling. And so there's a lot of people they're like, I love this, but oh my gosh, like you've got to make it longer. You've got to make it longer. And we're like, hey, we want to make it longer. Okay. And we want to give you guys an update, and we want you to be able to just scroll. But at the same time, it's like right now, no one's getting paid for this right now. You know what I mean? Like, this is as of this moment, it's a labor of love. And then, but that's the cool thing, seeing now where, we've already surpassed the numbers for Temerity 1, and seeing it come in and still having like 2 weeks left to go, and seeing the growth like that's the thing that scared me the most. With a traditional comic, you usually have a 40% drop in sales
between issues 1 and 2.
Between issues 1 and 2. And I was just so nervous. I'm going, Jemma, what if we do issue 2 and we're 40% lower than issue 1? And Jemma's just looking at me like, well, we're going to do it anyway, so stop worrying about it, and, but to see that we actually did more, like we instantly did more, and had way more pledges,
more support.
Yeah. It was just a big sigh of relief. But and that's the exciting part about it, is like we want to give the webtoons audience what they want, but we can't do that unless the money comes in. Money's what makes these things possible. So we're excited that the money is coming in, and we're hoping that we can
make enough to keep it going consistently and have it be a sustainable project.
Yeah, because right now it's taken a long time just to get 2 issues done, and it would be really nice if we were doing 4, 5, 6 issues a year. I think that'd be phenomenal.
And in a couple of years, once you guys are doing that, we'll get you that animated series.
Yes.
There you go.
That's the way you need it. You need to
That's my dream.
Because Webtoon's doing the animated stuff now, so it's like, hey,
are they?
Yeah, the Crunchyroll and Webtoons are.
Okay.
Yeah, we just have to get featured first. So.
Okay.
Yeah, we got to get you guys featured. So we need to get you. I don't know how we get you guys featured.
Well, I just need to start drawing more.
Yeah.
I need to start drawing more. So darn those kids. I keep telling my kids, go be famous and let daddy retire. Like I've
See, what
raised
you
you
do
for
is
20 years.
You got to put the kids to work.
Oh, they're working.
No,
They're
no,
just not sending money back yet.
You got to put them to work on the comic. See, that's what you do. Like, be
You know,
like, I need you guys to ink this. So
My-
it's like you draw it and you be like, you ink it.
My daughter Erica is working on it right now.
There you go.
She's
getting good.
She's good. She's good. She's way better than I was. It's exciting. If she watches this, she's gonna get so angry at me because she definitely inherited the introvert gene. She does not want anyone to talk about her, but you know, she sends me stuff all the time, and I'm like going, "Holy cow, you are 10 years ahead of me where I was at your age," and I can't wait. But she's gotta break out of that shell. She's gotta just, and it's hard. It's so hard. I mean, I did not have to deal with the internet when I was her age.
Oh, no.
I did not have to deal with it at all. I could just
I
draw my
grew up
little
in that
nerdy
nice,
drawings.
That nice age of like not having the internet and then having the internet. So it's like, yeah, this nice middle ground area of like not all my
Didn't have to be
childhood
a
is
teen.
there. But then, you know,
Yeah.
when I get like 10, that's when it kind of starts picking up and you're like, oh, okay, this is what this internet thing is.
Yeah.
Um,
It's just so much scrutiny though.
oh,
For
yeah.
artists, like, you know, especially young artists. And I see this all the time in my students. I teach too. And I see it with my students where they put, you know, they do something that's beautiful and they do not want to show it in fear of trolls just savaging them for no
Yep.
reason. And I'm like, you know what?
You're and like artists now are competing with the entire internet.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like you're still learning. You do
Right.
not have to compare yourself to the entire
Yeah.
internet.
People don't see that the person drawing some of that art might be a 4-year-old, might be a 5-year-old. I have seen some savage stuff. I'm like, this is a kid, this is a child, you know, and there's people like, oh, you suck, you know. I'm like, man,
And yeah, and then you go in like their profile, and it's like 15, and you're like, well,
Yeah.
they're doing that at 15. I
Right.
was still stick figuring at 15. Like,
Yeah.
There you go.
I can't draw to save my life. So it's
Yeah.
like,
Yeah. I mean, it is like dropping minnows into an ocean full of sharks and just expecting them to do okay when, like, I grew up in a very tiny pond, you know what I mean? And
Yeah.
the expectations for the kids these days is insane. It's just insane. And the job markets are insane. I mean, when I graduated from college, people are like, do you know how to turn on a computer? I'm like, yep, here's 40,000 a year plus benefits. Here you go. And these kids, it's like, you almost have to be like, you have to be insanely good.
either that or it's like, are you like not on your phone like at all? Yeah. Okay. Well, you got a job.
Yeah.
So it's almost like a reverse now. It's like, we don't want you on your phone or doing
Yeah.
anything at work. So it's like, if you don't have one, that's like a plus.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, before we wrap things up, we're gonna play one of our favorite games of What's on Your Shelf. So everybody, let's go and let's pull something behind our shelves, and you guys talk about it. I'm not doing it because I'm the host.
This is
so-
technically my shelf, but,
Yeah, but
Chad
can pull things and just here's the thing: pull something that you don't even know what it is and just go with it. That's the best way to do it.
Do I
like,
get to pick
pull it
something
and
for
be
you and
like-
you're going to pick something for me?
Oh gosh, no.
No? Okay. All right. Uh-oh. Here we
Well,
go.
see, because then Chad, then you get the fun job of like you try to
Trying to-
explain
trying to
what it is.
BS?
No,
Yeah.
go, just grab Rothfuss or something. No, not that one. No.
No, what is it? I
What
want to know
is
what
it?
it is now.
I know.
Pull it out.
I want to know what it is too now.
No.
Okay. Okay.
What
You
is it?
guys heard it. I tried. Jemma said no.
Chad,
Oh, hey.
Chad.
Hey, look. That is a
That seems like cheating. Like just a little bit. It seems like
like
cheating.
that is the most unshameless plug.
Okay.
It's so
Here you go.
shiny.
Okay. Oh, you know what? You know what's funny though? This
Show
is
that.
actually true.
Let's show that.
This is actually true. Think about this.
Vader's
Vader
dad.
is Leia's father. So, this is
Allegedly.
and
We don't know for sure. Was there a
it could have
test?
been, it could have been Obi-Wan.
It could have been Obi-Wan.
Oh my gosh,
Hey,
dude.
he seems to like Anakin seems to think it was. So I mean, like, well, no,
It's a way better choice.
right?
It's a way
I mean, seriously, I was like Ewan McGregor or Hayden Christensen. Like, what are you gonna do?
Well, no, I mean, okay. Remember when I said I stopped watching Star Wars at the prequels? When your boyfriend comes to you and admits that he murdered a village of people, including the children, that's probably a red flag saying you need to get a new boyfriend, you know. Anyway,
but he can blame that on the sand. It's coarse. It's everywhere. He just hates it. You can blame a lot on sand.
All right, this one's mine. This is Magic Knight Rayearth.
What in the world? That is dope.
This is a manga where these girls get transported to a magical world and they have to defeat the bad guy by piloting giant robots. So it's a fantasy mech. And it's written and drawn by Clamp, so it's just really.
I was about to say, like when you were showing the cover, I was like, it looks clampy.
Yes,
it looks like a Tsubasa type of thing.
You know what Tsubasa is?
Yeah, I was a Cardcaptor kid.
Yes,
I loved Cardcaptor.
I have all of them on my shelf.
Like that's how, like my best friend Charlie and I. That's how we kind of like bonded, because she was really big into Cardcaptor Sakura and Clamp. And then I was like, I watched Cardcaptor Sakura back when it was on Kids WB and it was English.
Yeah.
And it was like Cardcaptors, and it was like awesome.
Yes.
And then, but she only watches everything in Japanese, so it was like, I know my thing, and I would just make fun of that the Japanese forever, just because like Sakura's like all the time. She's like so high and like annoying, and I'm like, this is great. And I didn't know anybody's names, so I would like rename everybody. So there was like Stalker Chan, and that was just was it Tomoe, right?
Tomoe,
yeah. I was
they
just
changed all the names for the English version.
Oh, it makes it Rick Hunter.
Yeah. So that
was very much
when,
like a Sailor Moon type of thing.
Yeah, they would like recut it and everything. And
you gotta make it good for kids, because kids don't know what Japanese is.
Yeah. That's a really nice donut, and it's an onigiri, and like, oh, kids in America don't understand what rice balls are.
Yeah.
Anyways, yeah, I love.
We didn't though. To be fair, we did not.
Yeah.
But things have changed. Yeah. Things have changed. There was, when I was a kid, there was not a sushi restaurant growing up when I was a kid. No.
We had the Chinese buffet, and that was basically
you had like one Chinese buffet.
Like you would have to go to Midwest City where Tinker Air Force Base is, the largest air depot in the world, bragging about it, home state.
Represent.
Like massive Air Force Base, and like that's where they would have that's where you could go, and there were Korean restaurants, because like there would be Korean pilots and everything, or people that were stationed over there and were stationed at Tinker, and it was like, oh yeah. And you know it was good. Like if you ever want to, like if you ever find yourself in Midwest City, Oklahoma, for whatever reason, your plane got delayed, and you want to know a good place to eat, and you happen to be by the Air Force Base, go where all the airmen go. That's how you know it's good. Because like there'd be this one, there's this one Korean place. It's like look at this Korean place. It's like really cool, and it's like no service people at all.
That's a red flag.
Then there's this hole in the wall little Korean place called Korea House that's next to a laundromat and like an apothecary.
And it is sketch. It is sketch.
So sketch. That's where everybody is. Like you want to go in there, there's colonels and airmen, and so like everyone is in here. And you're like, this is where we know it's a good place.
Yeah.
It's delicious.
Yeah. No, Vegas didn't get a Chinatown until after I left, and then I left Las Vegas to go to Cedar City, Utah. Which have you read the Old Man Logan, where they go to Cedar City and it's just dirt and there's a tiny little church steeple poking up out of the ground? That's a pretty accurate description of Cedar City, Utah. You know, it's just there. But it's
you
pretty
described
Spartan.
My hometown. You described Shawnee. That is exactly what you described.
Yeah.
It was like, we've got churches and Sonics. That's what we've got, because
Hermes
Shawnee, Oklahoma, home of Sonic. That's where it came from.
Oh, okay.
That's our only claim to fame. We got Sonic.
Red
Wow.
Oh, and
Dust.
Brad Pitt was
Yeah.
born there. That was it.
Oh, hey, that's not too shabby.
He left shortly after. Like
We had
6
Harry Reid.
days.
Harry Reid.
I don't know anything about Cedar City
Yeah.
other than I went to college.
And
there.
then when he be, and then, yeah, it's funny. It's not funny. We're not talking about politics. So moving on.
Anyway,
But,
so Jimmy pulled Clamp,
Yeah.
basically.
Yeah.
Just all of Clamp works. Just like I pulled all of Clamp. And I think it's still cheating, but Chad, what did you pull? Like
Vader's Little Princess.
Vader's Little
And
Princess.
I just want you to know, if you're a father and this happens, Vader's reaction is the wrong reaction to have. The reaction you should have, be like, hey, looks great. Because,
the moment Dad gives approval,
yep,
they're like, oh,
Yeah.
my dad thinks
yep,
it's cool.
my dad thinks it's cool. I'm gonna go change. But if you have a reaction like that, that is the reaction that they're like, bingo, and they're out the door. So just go with it, guys. Just let it go.
Oh man. Well, see, now I'm really interested. What was the first book that you pulled? I really
Oh,
wanna
it
know.
was just it was this one. It's called Story Spinner.
See, that
Here.
looks cool. Now, okay,
Here.
Chad, what is Stories without just looking at the cover? What is that about?
I suspect it's about sexy archery tales.
Okay.
This is what I suspect.
Okay, so I worked at a bookstore for
Does it do it? No, okay.
okay. I worked at a bookstore for like 2 years. Take a romance novel, pull it to the middle. That's about where you find the no cha-cha
Posse.
chapter.
No, my wife loves the, what are they, the Harlequin
The
romance?
Harlequins, yeah.
And it was so funny because she was like, they're not that bad. And I did this. I started flipping the book and then I just randomly put my finger into the book and I started reading it. And it was like, I don't know,
No,
can I
don't
say
say it.
throbbing member?
Throbbing member is PG-13, so yes, that is okay.
Anyway, and she's so, my wife's so funny because she's super religious and like she just went beet red. But anyway, I guess this is not this.
No, this is very
Okay.
teenagey,
Oh, okay.
appropriate.
Okay.
Oh.
Well then why were you
Oh, it was just like, I don't know. It's just a book.
You can love things. It's okay to love things.
This was actually one I did as a job. So this is one that I did an illustration for. That
Oh,
one.
I remember. Oh, okay. Never mind.
Oh well, okay. After we're done with this, I want to hear this story because it seems like a gem.
I know this story now. I all of a sudden the light went bing. Okay.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Guys, thank you both so much for coming on. This was fun.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah.
Oh,
thanks.
no worries. Now, where can we find you guys social media wise and find Telemetry?
Temerity can be found on Webtoons. It is also, we have an Instagram and a Twitter account. We're more on Instagram because I hate Twitter. It's just at Temerity Comic. And then you can find both Chad and I on Instagram and Facebook and stuff like that.
And I am on Twitter.
Yeah.
I do okay on Twitter sometimes.
And my handle is at Jemma M Young. It's pretty simple.
And I think I'm Hardin _art on almost everything. And then on Twitter, I'm just Chad Hardin.
Yeah.
I was really original. I was like, what can I name myself where people will know who I am?
Mm-hmm.
If only your name was like Chad James, because then you could have been James Harden and people would have been
No,
like,
my middle name is Wayne. I have the middle name of every serial killer ever. So I have Chad,
Batman,
which is
though.
like, what's
And a Batman.
I didn't think about that.
Yeah.
But see,
No way.
okay, have you read Arkham Asylum though?
No.
Oh, you need to read Arkham Asylum.
Oh.
Grant Morrison does not paint Batman as a healthy mental, a person with healthy mental abilities.
Here's the thing about Batman. Don't let anybody know, but I was more of a Robin fan than a Batman fan. Like Bruce was
Grayson,
I-
or which Robin are we talking about? Are we talking
Tim.
about Nightwing?
Tim.
Tim? Okay.
Tim
all
for
right.
sure.
I
Okay.
am a Lego Batman fan because that to me is the most accurate Batman in how I feel about Batman.
That is a pretty awesome Batman. Lego Batman is pretty dope.
All the other Batmans, I'm like, no. But Lego Batman's okay.
I love all Batman. I'm sorry. I've loved Batman since Batman 66. I've loved Batman since like Neil Adams Batman. I've been reading Batman for an insanely long time.
The best Batman was Adam West, like for sure. Mainly because like he had like his rogues gallery.
He was so stylish. Yes, right? There you go.
Frank Gorshin as the Riddler.
Oh, Julie Newmar as Catwoman. Come on.
Catwoman, phenomenal. Burgess as
Penguin. Yeah.
Amazing. Loved it. He was perfect.
Well, and it still holds up. It still holds up. I mean, my kids watch it and they laugh wildly, as they should, when Batman saves the day by the unseen dolphin. If you guys never seen the Batman 66 movie, there's a scene where they're pulling Batman up out of the water. He has a shark on his leg, and then the next scene, Batman and Robin are in the boat, and Robin just says, "Man, it was so nice of that dolphin to like, you know, sacrifice his life to get that shark off your leg." Like, it was the most awesome thing ever. And the fact that my kids laughed at it as much as I did when it bridges the generations.
What's great about that movie too is like when they turn the U in, which just happens to be in Gotham, like they do, when he turns them all into like cool sand that you would put in a bottle at the mall, like Burt Ward like puts his hand in one and goes like, "There's sand," and it's like that person is dead now. So like when they get rid of like half of their torso's got to be gone, like because he literally was like, "Oh, look at this sand," and like,
I'm gonna play with this dead person.
And you're like, "Oh no, they're gone. It's over." And you always knew when Batgirl was going to be on the episode because there would be that little bitty Batgirl on I think it's on her little bat cycle. It was super cool. Anyway, we're gonna put the links to Temerity and Jim and Chad's socials. We're gonna put all of that in the show notes if you want to follow them, read it. We're gonna put the everything for the Kickstarter and the Indiegogo in there, the Indiegogo in there as well, so you can find all of those. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Cain. You can find the podcast on the Instagram at What's Up Fandom, on Twitter at What's Up Fandom PC for podcast. All of our episodes are available iTunes, Stitcher, Podbean, Google Play, Spotify. You get the video content on YouTube. Be sure to head to 1 Outta 10 on social media. They did the intro and outro for this episode. And, if you want to save that 10% on Wild Bill Soda, just use code FANDOM10 at checkout and you can get that 10% off. Because everybody wants free soda. You guys go to comic conventions. You remember Wild Bill's soda? They would have like the
Stein.
Yes, exactly. So since they're not doing cons anymore, they actually canned all of their Cokes or all of their sodas and everything. So you can buy the sodas and like buy a Stein and everything.
My mouth literally just started watering.
Oh man, that was the one thing that I was missing. Cause like I would always go, like whenever I did, press and everything, I would go and I would get one of those things. I'd be like, I'm good. Like I've got my ball in the water, and then I'm gonna get like their Gatling grape drink, and I'm just gonna be happy the entire weekend. That and the cinnamon almonds. Oh yeah. Do you remember those? Oh, I miss those.
I miss conventions.
I know. I do. Yeah.
You hate.
I miss my friend. Like I haven't seen Ali Garza. I haven't seen like Jason Mintz. I mean, people don't realize like for like the last 14 years, almost every weekend, I was basically hanging out with like the same people, like Kara Nicole.
It's like a reunion.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And anyway, there's so many people. Marat, Brian Sharp. I mean, I could, Sarah Richards. I mean, like all your friends, and they do. You become friends with everybody because you're hanging out every weekend.
Yeah.
And then you miss your fans too. I mean, there's a huge disconnect with that. So yeah, one day.
Yeah, one day we'll all be able to meet again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully soonish,
Yeah.
but
I hope these
probably
vaccines work.
2027.
No. We're not gonna make it if it goes that long.
Again, thank you both so much for coming on. You're invited back anytime. So whenever you guys just want to talk about anything, just holla. We'll make it happen.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
No problem. So for What's Up Fandom, I'm Josh.
I'm Chad.
And I'm Jemma.
Woohoo!
Bye, everybody.
I'm not the leading authority on action, poetic, or using big words. But this writer is my philosophy about living is such a